All right. Good morning, everyone on TikTok and YouTube. This is the 7 a.m. Standard. I started this show for men, and the world's in chaos right now, and we need messages of hope. We need messages of man and positive masculinity and discussions around what does it actually mean to be a man. And I'm welcome to answering questions, all of those things. The format of the show, I'm going to do my best to be here every weekday morning at 7 o'clock Australian Eastern Daylight Time, which is going to change soon back to Eastern Standard Time. But the purpose of this is over the last 11 years I've been studying human behavior and coaching men and women for a very long time. And then over the last 4 years I've been diving deep down the rabbit hole of what it actually means to be a man, and what does it mean to be a man? How do we show up? What does masculinity mean? There's been all of this noise on social media about manosphere and all of these different role models that boys have been looking up to, and also just men my age, men that are 40, men that are in, well, I'm 50 now, but men that are in the drift, or they're at the stage in their relationships where, you know, the relationship, the spark might have faded, or your health's not quite right, what it is, or maybe your career is not quite where you want it to be. All of these things that we navigate as men affect our lives. They affect our partners, they affect our kids, they affect our community, they affect, if we're leaders, they affect our team. So I wanted to start this show to be able to have these discussions, answer questions around what does it actually mean to be a man, and how do we show up. And one of those things that I looked for when I was doing research around men's work is this concept of honor. Now, for thousands of years, we lived with honor. And at the moment, so many men, great men, there's no one to hold us accountable. We're in the drift, that we'd have no standard to rise to, no fire, no one that holds us accountable to a higher standard. So what is honor? Well, honor is a moral imperative of men. And this is something that we lived with for thousands of years that kept us in check. Honor was this set of guidelines, this set of virtue like courage, bravery, benevolence, rectitude, temperance. These virtues that men lived by that kept us in check. Right now, we don't have anyone holding us accountable to a higher standard. Our governments are failing us. The people that we're surrounded, some of the people that we're surrounded with in society and culture aren't living to a high standard. The people that we look up to on the internet aren't holding themselves to a high standard. Our leaders in government, whatever country you're in, they are not holding themselves to a higher standard, and people are just doing whatever the F they want and getting away with it. And this is something that I realized a long time ago, is that everything for a man that's free and cheap and easy comes at a cost. Everything, I'll say that again, everything that's free, everything that's easy, everything that's cheap comes at a huge cost to men. Think about it. Porn, it's free. Huge cost. It erodes dopamine. It erodes sexual chemistry with your partner. It erodes self-respect. There's shame and guilt around it, even though you might not think it. It seems harmless. Then there's fast food. It's easy, it's cheap, has a huge destructive cost on everyone. Lax standards, all of these things as a man that are free and easy have this huge cost to us, and we don't even realize. And I've worked with and I know so many great men that have just had this slide into mediocrity. I mean, I had it in my late 30s, early 40s, when I was really under pressure in my job. I started drinking wine every night just to relax and calm down. And then all of a sudden, I was 20 kilos overweight, and I thought, how the hell did I get like this? And there was no one in my life to say, hey, bro, what the hell? You have let yourself go. What are you doing? There was no one there. My wife, said some things to me, but then I was just like a complete dick about it and said, you're nagging me. So there's no one there to hold us accountable to a high standard. And this is why I love mythology, like the Knights of the Round Table. The Knights of the Round Table, these were honorable, chivalrous men that lived to a code, and they sat around in circle so that they could see themselves and hold each other accountable and talk about life, talk about different ways that they could show up for other people. And one of their virtues was benevolence, the generosity of spirit. So there's all of these different virtues that I'm going to start to talk about. But before I get there, this version of society that we have is ending in destruction, where people can just get away with doing whatever they want, gangs in the streets, and there's no one holding these young men accountable. And what honor did up until a couple of 100 years ago was kept men in check without rules, without laws, because we didn't, and this is something that I really need you to listen to, is we didn't need laws or rules because we were held accountable to the men beside us. We were held accountable to the men above us. And this was called vertical and horizontal honor. We did not want to bring shame on the men beside us. We didn't want to bring shame on the man above us. And this was honor. So we talk a lot about toxic shame with men, and a lot of men have toxic shame, things that they are shameful about, their behaviors. And this toxic shame stems from this fact that we are doing behaviors that aren't in alignment with some subconscious virtues and values that we have deep down in our psyche. And that is why so many men are drifting, so many men are gambling, and these are great men, and I'm not judging men because I know men need to step up. I know there's a lot of women would, if they're watching this, would be saying that men need to step up, and like I totally get that. But this is no judgment against men. This is like, I've been there. I've been in the drift. I've done things that I haven't been proud of. And this is not a judgment of men, but we need to rise up as men and be better without judgment, without just blame, without shame, all of these things, to go, you know what? My life is not how I want it, but I can be better. I can live to a higher standard. I can become the man that I need to be for myself first, the man that I need to be for my partner, the man that I need to be for my community, for my kids. If I'm a leader, how to show up better as a team. Now, I'm just going to have a look here at the comments. I'm not actually sure how to get the comments up on TikTok. Oh, we'll work that out. So this, I'm just going to have a sip of my coffee because I've been just talking flat out. If anyone can tell me on Facebook how I actually get the comments up on TikTok, you think I would have worked this out. This is the first show. And if there's any questions, you can jump over to Daniel Burgess over at Facebook and drop in your questions. But I notice there's a lot of people on TikTok joining, and I just can't see the comments. That's right. We'll work it out. I'll keep going on. Now, when I first, And if you're just joining, this is the 7 a.m. Standard for Men. It's a show for men, about men. If you have any comments, if you are going through some challenges, if you're in the drift, if you are going through any challenges as a man, if you've got anything, I wrote this this little book of honor, which has got all of the virtues in it. You can have it for free. There's no sign up. I'll just, if you message me, I'll send you the Google link drive to it. It's got the 12 virtues in it that I studied for 2 years, researching, writing, looking at all of the virtues that men lived with over the last 5,000 years. And there was common virtues across the Maasai warriors, across the Knights Templar, across Benjamin Franklin, who was one of the founding fathers of the United States, armies, schools, all of these different ancient orders and ancient sects across time and space had these universal virtues that men lived by. And one of the virtues that I spoke about before, which I feel is lost in our society, is benevolence and temperance. The two, I feel benevolence, having a generosity of spirit, and then temperance is something that so many men have lost. We have these anger outbursts, or we over excessively eat, or we over excessively consume content. We do all of these different things. And when we live to these virtues, and maybe I'm going off on a tangent here, it gives us a container to live by. Now, men have this immense amount of power, and that power can be destructive. That power can cause violence and domestic violence, and it can be used in gambling and self-destructive behavior and outbursts and passive aggressiveness. But when men have a container for that power, like with virtues, having other men that see them in their greatness, holding them to a higher standard, they thrive. They can achieve more. They're better partners. They're better connected to their kids because they have a container for this immense amount of power that they have that's burning inside them. Robert Moore, who wrote King, Warrior, Magician, Lover, said there's this golden well that burns deep down inside a man, and when unchecked, it can be destructive. It can literally tear men apart. Now, that is why we've always had virtues. I thought that virtues would be different across different times, across different eras, but the virtues must be a part of male consciousness because there were themes, as I said before, across every stage of our existence over the last 5,000 years of recorded history that I could find. Now, when I first came across virtues and living with virtue and honor was Benjamin Franklin. And I'm not American. I don't really know a lot about American history, but it was quite fascinating to read about Benjamin Franklin's life because he was, by his own admission, he was failing at life. He had the Americans would know, like, he was working for his brother as a printer, and he wanted to be a writer, and he ended up writing these letters of a middle-aged woman under the guise of a woman called Silence Dogood. It was called the Silence Dogood letters, and he wrote all of these letters, and eventually, and he got critical acclaim in the newspaper, but eventually his brother found out and kicked him out, and he was just in the drift as a young man, and he created 13 virtues, and he decided to live to these virtues every day. He even created a scorecard for himself. And in this scorecard, he had the 13 virtues, and each day he'd live to a certain virtue for 13 days, and then he would repeat the cycle. And this cycle that he did, he said, however, I never achieved perfection. Living to these virtues shaped me into the man that I always knew I could be. And that really had a profound effect on me, because he went on to incredible things. And I truly believe, and I got goosebumps on this, I truly believe that he, by him living to these virtues, shaped into this man that could do amazing things. Was he any different to you or I? Maybe he was smarter, maybe he wasn't. I don't know that. But what I know is that men living to a strong container, and there's a man in Kinsman, Brent. He's a great man, and he was in the Kinsman Online Brotherhood for a year. Actually, he showed up every day. He was the only man that never missed one session in 12 months, every week. And he started living. He put all of the virtues, he printed them all out and put them on his wall, and he just started living to these virtues every single day. And this man's life transformed. He got his dream job. He's writing all of these tenders. He's doing all of these crazy things. His relationships improved with his kids and his boys, his elder boys. He's thriving because he said, Daniel, he said, no one ever gave me a set of standards to live by. And that blew me away. He's like, he said, not one person in his life had told him a standard of how to live. And I know so many men that come from broken homes, and they're raised by their mothers, and their mothers are doing the best that they can. And because the fathers have left, or there's been domestic violence, or insert 10,000 other ridiculously bad scenarios here. And so many men have been raised by teachers that have no standards. They've been raised by caregivers that have no standards. They've been raised by their mothers who are doing their absolute best to keep them alive. That, women aren't men. Men need accountability from other men to support them, to be able to grow and give them a standard to live by. And then also, back in my era when I was growing up, I didn't learn any standards off my biological father. He was incredibly violent towards my mother. I witnessed that at a very young age, that I blocked out for a very long time. So we have all of these men that aren't positive role models, that never taught us how to be. They never gave us a rule book to say, here are the guidelines. Here's how you show up as a man in this world. Here's how you behave. Here's how you treat women. Here's how you treat other people. Here's how you are generous and generous of spirit. Here's how you have respect. Here's how you have courage and bravery and rectitude. So one of the virtues that's in Kinsman is rectitude, and that's living to the things that we say, like our actions match our words. And so there's all of these things that we were never, ever shown, or a rule book of actually what it means to be a man. And so there's no wonder that there's all of these boys drawn to these male influences that have these really broken views of what it means to be a man, what it means to how to treat women, all of these different things, because no one has given these young men an actual code or an honor code or a set of standards to live by. And we've really failed in some way as a society when men can't or don't have access to a set of standards, time-honored standards to live by. And we need to come back to this version of honor because men men are in the drift. Men are living quiet lives of desperation. They're living the drift. They're living in mediocrity. And as I said at the start, this is not a judgment. I see the potential and greatness in every man. I've worked in disability unemployment. I've coached men. Worked with men that are millionaires. They've got everything. They've got everything that money can buy. The car, the wife, the kids, all of these things. And they are unhappy. They're drinking more than they should. They're gambling because they're just lost and in the drift. I've worked with young men that have no direction in life. They're 18 and they're like, I don't know who I am and why I'm even on this planet. What is my role? And then I've worked with men that have been in disability unemployment, have been unemployed for 10 years. And that have lost hope, that have lost faith in themselves, and they've had the ability to turn themselves around and get employed again, lose all the weight, get back on track. So this is no judgment of men. This is, I see greatness and potential in every man, but we need to be better. And the way we can do that is living with honor, living to a standard that holds us accountable, and we can't do it on our own. We need other men to hold us accountable. I remember, I don't know, it was a year and a half ago, one of my good friends, he was really fit. We were training through COVID, and then he laxed with his training. He had a new business, and he stacked on all this weight. And I just poked him. I was a bit mad. I was like, what happened to you? And he just went, oh, far out. You're right. I've let myself go. And he's a great man, and he just went on a rampage. And now he's lost 30 kilos. He's fit. He's almost got a six-pack. He's a savage. And he said to me, man, he said, I'm so glad that you gave me a poke and gave me a wake-up call because I needed it. And that's just what men need. We need to be in circles of other men holding each other accountable to a higher standard to go, you know what? You're better than this. One of the guys at Kinsman, in the Kinsman online thing, he rocked up drunk to one of the calls. Good man, great man. And I rang him and said, don't you ever, ever rock up to our call ever again from drinking. And then one of the other kinsmen rang him and gave him a full chop out. And he said to me, he said, man, no one's ever cared. No one's ever cared and actually pulled me up on my behavior. And I swear to God, he didn't drink for months and months after that because he was so shocked that someone actually cared and that someone actually did something for him and showed him that there was another standard, showed him that there was another way to live by. I'm just going to pause for a second. Hopefully I don't knock everyone off Twitter, off TikTok, but I'm just trying to see if there's comments here on TikTok. If I can see people. All right, sorry everyone. I can see a heap of people have joined, but I can't see if the comments come up. All right. Okay, cool. I can't work it out. Maybe I might need to research that next time for Monday morning. So if you're here and I haven't answered your comment on TikTok, I'm sorry. Put your comments and questions and I'll answer them on Monday's show. But yeah, I hope that this conversation about honor really lands with you and what it means to be a man, because I feel that we're on a slippery slope, and I think from 1100 to like the 1600s or something like that, it was this time in history which was, they call it the Dark Ages of man. And it was this period of about 500 years where there was war. I don't know if there was something that the history was rewritten, or the history was, doctored. I don't know, but it's credited as this dark age of man. This dark age, the Dark Ages, this time of death and destruction, and there was not a lot written about it. And what was credited to the end of the Dark Ages was the Renaissance of man, right? Good men stepping up as role models in society. This was like Leonardo da Vinci, Michelangelo, these Renaissance men that were all about philosophy. They were about debate, having conversations. They were about philosophy. They were about art and the appreciation of beauty, respect and honor of women. And they were also, maybe I said this or maybe I didn't, about physical prowess. So working on their body, having an elite body, an elite mind. They studied, they learned, they were polymaths, they were versed across many different disciplines. And I feel right now that we are in the Dark Ages of man. Like, we've forgotten our way. I mean, I'd forgotten my way for years. It was like this cloud of this veil of mediocrity that was across me that I lived with, I accepted. And I feel that we are in this dark age of man right now. And I mean, don't get me wrong, I know there's lots of good men out there, but there's lots of men that are asleep and lots of men that are under the spell of social media, under the spell of porn, under the spell of comfort and junk food and all of these things. And these are great men that deserve beautiful relationships and intimacy and connection and a body that they can be proud of. But to do that, we need to wake up. We need to stop being asleep. We need to work on our bodies. We need to work on our minds. We need to take full, radical responsibility of our situation, to look at each part of our lives and go, am I being the man that I know that I can be? Not with shame, not with guilt, not with doubt, just a look in the mirror and go, am I being the best version of myself as a man? And then answer that question. Write it down, look at yourself and go, am I being the best version of myself? Am I living to my potential? And maybe you're crushing it. Maybe you're crushing it financially. But how is your marriage? How is your partnership? Maybe you are crushing it in your health and your finances aren't where you want them to be. I've been there. Maybe that you're disconnected from your kids because you're working so much. Just have an honest conversation with yourself and go, where are there gaps in my life and how do I want it to be? So before I wrap up, I just want to say thank you for those that have joined. This is the first ever 7 a.m. standard. I'll be back here on Monday and to have more conversations about what it means to be a man. If I've missed your comments, if I've missed questions on TikTok because I can't work it out, I'm sorry. But I will answer all of those questions on Monday's show. So that's Monday, Australian Eastern Daylight Time. I think Daylight Savings will be finished by then. So yeah, it's 7:30. I just want to say thank you for tuning in. I trust that you got lots out of this. And I'll see you on the inside.